All right. Happy Sunday, everyone. I thought I'd go live to discuss what appears to be the Bristol City manager shortlist. We got three supposed names on it. We got Rob Edwards, Gerhard Struber, and Richie Wellens. Looks like we've got three potential candidates for the job, and I thought I'd go live this morning to discuss it. I think got a few people watching live, but what I'll do, I'll try and record this in a way that both works as a live stream and as a video for people to watch back, because I think most people will probably watch this one back. So, I need to, sorry, bear with. We just need to go on Odds Checker a second, which is my favourite source of odds. We're going to check the latest odds for Bristol City's new manager. Bear with. Bristol City. Good morning, Sam. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're keeping well. So yeah, here's good old Odds Checker. I'm just going to change that so it fits a little bit better on your screen. Good to see you, Liam, mate. Hope you're keeping well. Got two good mates, Liam and Sam, in the chat. So yeah, it looks like we got three leading candidates basically on the bookies odds, and I think they're clear of sort of any other really. We got Gerhard Struber, who I believe was the previous Barnsley manager and is now, well, was recently sacked by Cologne in Germany. Rob Edwards, we all know who he is, former Forest Green, Watford and Luton manager, and Richie Wellens, who I believe is currently in charge at Leyton Orient. And I got to say, just from a purely opinion point of view, I would take either Gerhard Struber or Rob Edwards, to be honest, and be pretty happy with either of them being appointed. Richie Wellens, on the other hand, I don't know a whole lot about him, but it just feels a little bit underwhelming. I must say. So what my plan was with this stream, so we've got the odds now. This is what I think is the shortlist, right? This is the three that I think our club will most likely go for, unless someone emerges late on. There are a few rumours that Michael Carrick might be interested, but I'm not 100% sure we'll go for Carrick. Just doesn't feel, don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about Rob Edwards. We're going to go in a bit of detail, basically. So let's do a little roundup of some tweets. So we've got some latest news here, and well, I've tried to pull up a little bit of analysis about all of the managers as well, and we can have a look at them. So we got a tweet here saying that there was a few tweets going around basically saying that Rob Edwards had already been offered the Bristol City job, but I think that appears to be a little bit premature, and we're not going to get a managerial announcement imminently. We've got some quotes, Naki Wells on Manning. I don't know. I'm kind of going in a dodgy order here, but this is just tweets I thought would be useful to run through. So we had a nice quote from Naki Wells about Liam Manning. Had a statement, obviously, from Liam after he left. And Dan Carter, our resident sort of Bristol City journalist, he's gone off on holiday, I think, for the next couple of weeks. I saw him tweet and say it's a good time for him to go on holiday, isn't it? But he's been told it's unlikely that Bristol City will appoint their new head coach this week. So that was June the 5th. So that was tweeted on Thursday. And yeah, things could change quickly. But obviously, we didn't get a managerial announcement last week. So you'd hope that we get something next week. Let's see if there's anything on here that's useful. Yeah, just the three favourites really. Gerhard Struber, Rob Edwards, Richie Wellens. And it certainly looks like Gerhard is leading at the moment. That's probably it from that. Gary Johnson's done the rounds in the press over the last couple of weeks for City. I think he was a pundit on the playoff final semi, wasn't he, for Sky? And then he's been bigging up the Bristol City job as well, so that's good. My local, sort of, I live in Bedminster, somewhere near this pub. I won't reveal my exact location, but yeah, Rob Edwards has been, he's got a poster in front of the Three Lions. It seems like the landlord of the Three Lions likes Rob Edwards. We've got some analysis here from Gerhard Struber. Now, I think we all know, we've all got an idea of the kind of football that Rob Edwards plays, right? For me, I think the manager position is between Rob Edwards and Gerhard Struber at the moment. It certainly looks like it's between the two. And we all kind of know the sort of football that Rob Edwards plays, right? Three at the back, flying wing backs, high energy, high press. But Gerhard Struber, not so much. And well, we got Febs here, my choice of Bristol City analytics account for the time being. So he's saying ex-Cologne, doesn't know tons, but he is an advocate of the high press, technical football and a back four. I think he plays a 4-2-3-1, if I'm not mistaken. So we got some notes here. Team star rank. So this is Bundesliga 2. So I think he won the German second division with Cologne to get them promoted. And he ranked, blimey, he ranked pretty high for kind of all of the stats, really. But he also ranked #1 in the league by the looks of it for shots conceded, which is interesting. So it looks like he plays very, very attacking, high-pressing football, but also concedes a lot of chances. So yeah, they were the top scoring team in the league in terms of XG and I think goals for, and they also conceded the most shots, which is quite interesting. But it certainly looks like in Gerhard Struber there is quite an attacking manager for him. Also in charge of Salzburg as well. So he had, yeah, same again. Very attacking manager by the looks of it. He's certainly looks like a vertical, high press, attacking manager. See if we've got anything else useful to go through. Apparently we're in for a new player as well. Liam Henderson, who's currently playing at Empoli. It looks like we're in for him. Although, I'm not sure we've got room for another centre midfielder, have we? Good old Roy the Alien. So Michael Carrick has apparently formally applied for the Bristol City job and will be interviewed ASAP. With all the clubs, Gerrard, Struber, Edwards, all interviewed apparently. So Carrick, according to Roy, Gerrard, Struber, Edwards and Carrick have all been interviewed apparently. The Robin Zones account is very positive about Gerhard Struber, looking like he can get Fally some goals. We'll see about that one. That was how we were looking for odds last night. Thomas Frank has told Brentford he wants to leave for Spurs, and I've got to tell you, so there are currently, if you were to think of the football pyramid and 3 vacancies that might be live soon, you've got, well, Plymouth is currently open, isn't it? Middlesbrough is currently open. I think West Brom and Norwich have filled theirs, haven't they? And now you've got the Brentford job. And you'd think that Brentford, they don't care for a high profile name. They kind of do the money ball, don't they? Where they pick a manager that would be a really good fit for them. And I think Rob Edwards wouldn't be a horrendous shout for Brentford. And I also think, the likes of Liam Rosenior, well, probably not Gary O'Neill, but those kind of top echelon managers that were kind of originally touted for Bristol City might be more likely to go for Brentford. And what I'm leading to, and it was something I did on my tweets earlier on in the week, and I may have gotten a little bit carried away with them because I was so keen on Rob Edwards at the time and didn't really have my eyes open, I suppose, to other candidates. But I just wanted the club to act quickly because, this is something I believe anyway, and it's an ethos I've had whenever I've done YouTube and pretty much anything in like my business life. But you've got to move quickly because if you snooze, you lose sometimes. You've got to get the guy quickly if you want him. And I was a little bit concerned this week that, well, I don't actually believe that Bristol City have even agreed a deal with Norwich for Chris Hogg and Kraus, like the two backroom staff, Liam's assistants. So that's still to be agreed. I think that was the stumbling block on the deal originally. And I think the two clubs are negotiating compensation for those. And I still somewhat feel this, but if that's stopping us getting a new manager in and we're negotiating compensation for like our assistant managers, I almost feel like, a few $100K. How much is Kraus and etc. going to go for? I mean, we're talking like $250,000, $250K or so. I know it's a substantial amount of money to the average Joe, but I think in terms of time to recruit a new manager, I just think that time is more valuable than a few extra K negotiating for our assistant coaches. That was my mindset anyway, earlier on in the week, and I was just very keen on Rob Edwards at the time. So yeah, a few tweets from me. I think that's our shortlist, isn't it? Rob Edwards, Richie Wellens, Gerhard Struber. And yeah, what I'm going to do, because I've done a video on Let's see if AI's got a story for him. There we go. So, Gerhard Struber, his football coaching career began with RB Salzburg's academy, eventually leading to coaching roles at, well, across Germany by the looks of it. Barnsley, he was coach of New York, and is he currently the head coach of Salzburg? Is he currently employed, is he? Anyway, so yeah, he worked for 8 years at the RB Academy, served as an assistant coach, gained experience in Austria, took over Barnsley, bottom of the championship, avoided relegation, back-to-back games against Forest and Brent. That's massive, isn't it, at the time? So yeah. And I remember seeing some of the replies we had to Gerhard Struber related Bristol City tweets. There are a few Barnsley fans popping up in the tweets saying that they were big fans of Gerhard Struber. And what's, I think, one of the telltale signs of a good manager, genuinely, is when a football club, like an opposition fan, replies to one of your club's sort of related tweets and says that he's a good manager. For me, that's quite a good sign, I think. Head coach of New York Red Bulls, October 2020. So he's there for nearly 3 years. Yeah, nearly 3 years. But he only left because he wanted to return to Europe. Currently in charge of Salzburg. Let's see if we can look for him in Transfermarkt. Let's see if we can look for him in Transfermarkt. That's usually a good source of info for me. Another bald manager, by the way. We love a bald man, don't we? We want English, please. Interesting, yeah. So AI thinks that he's in charge of Salzburg, but he's not. He left as the Cologne coach. So looking at his clubs, he's done pretty well, hasn't he? Like that average points per game, pretty strong. That's his playing career. What can we look at? Should we see his season at Cologne? Who's he got? So 116, drew 7, lost 9 by the looks of it. What am I looking at here then? He got promoted, didn't he? I'm really confused by this. Bundesliga 2 table. I thought he got promoted with Cologne, didn't he? Oh, he did. Yeah. That's really interesting. So yeah, here's the Bundesliga 2 table. So he's just won the league with Cologne, basically. But looking at it, they weren't actually top for goals scored. Interesting. So yeah, they were a really attacking team, not necessarily top for goals scored, but they did win the league. And there's some fairly like recognisable German teams in there. Schalke are in there. That's mad, isn't it? That Schalke are 14th in the second division of Germany. Hertha Berlin, Hanover, Hamburg, Cologne. You know, there's some pretty historic teams in the second division in Germany at the moment. And obviously, he won the league. I'm guessing he's currently unemployed then, which is mad. He's just won the league and he's left. Need to get to the bottom of why he left Cologne, I suppose. Let's have a look at the chat quickly. Yeah, late next week. I'd probably imagine so. I hope my point still stands, though, about just moving quickly. I know we don't want to be gung-ho and be reckless with our decision-making around a manager, but the last thing, I don't know. My thinking was that Bristol City, it certainly looked like last week, Bristol City wanted Rob Edwards and he was kind of their number one target. And when the Borough position opened up, I just thought, oh, God. If you were to compare the two clubs against each other, you could argue, because they've spent a fair bit of time in the Premier League, probably have more money available, that Middlesbrough would be a more compelling job for Rob Edwards. But I did get I got some, I got a little bit of information. I can't remember who sent it to me on Twitter. But apparently Rob Edwards is living somewhere near Birmingham at the moment. And he was commuting to Luton from Birmingham to do that job. And if he took the job at Middlesbrough, obviously Birmingham to Middlesbrough is not a possible commute. But Birmingham to Bristol or Phelan or whatever that's doable, isn't it? So that would kind of maybe tip it for him so that he didn't have to move him and his family to take the City job. But yeah, I guess we'll see on that. Rob Edwards for me, but not a clue on Struber. I saw a post from someone who works at the High Performance Centre, said he's seen Rooney and his agent. Oh, God. Surely we are too good for Wayne Rooney, I think. I just don't think we can go for Wayne Rooney. No, that's fair, Chris, but I was just saying we might, I don't know. I feel like we could be. Obviously, Brentford's the more attractive job, but I'd be interested to see who goes to Brentford next, because they won't, like I was saying, I don't think they'll pick a name for the sake of a name. They'll pick a Moneyball kind of manager, really. You're gone for Wellens. God. Do you have a look at Richie Wellens then? So he's the one that I said was quite underwhelming. And he feels quite underwhelming to me. So he's been manager of Oldham, Swindon, Salford, Doncaster, and he's done 172 games at Leyton Orient, appointed in 2022. Where did Leyton Orient finish in League One this season then? Where did they finish? I'm just going to Google it on another screen and then pull it across. League One table. So yeah, obviously League One by Birmingham. Second place was Wrexham. So Leyton Orient got in the playoffs, didn't they? Good playoffs. How do they get on in the playoffs then? Oh, so they got to the final, and they lost to Charlton. So that shows my knowledge of League One football, doesn't it? It's poor form, really. So yeah, they beat Wycombe. Sorry, no, Charlton beat Wycombe. Leyton Orient beat Stockport on pens, and then lost to Charlton in the final. Of course they did. Let's go back. Richie Wellens story. Let's see what AI has to say about Richie Wellens. English football manager, began his career at Oldham. Yeah, as we saw, managed Swindon, Salford, Doncaster, currently at Leyton Orient. Interesting. He made a controversial statement about Ange Postecoglou. Interesting. Recognised for his ability to develop young talent and build a strong team culture, Wellens' managerial style has been characterised as streetwise and driven by desire to succeed. He was brought up at Man United, apparently. Interesting. Yeah, I agree, Western Red. I think that's probably fair. I think it opens up more doors. I do agree with you. And it looks like he's got quite close ties with like the Red Bull setup, which has obviously produced quite a lot of exciting players. So yeah, I don't think that's too bad of a shout. I want to see. Let's go Leyton Orient. See if we can find their recent results. In fact, I'm going to go on SofaScore. See what kind of teams he plays. You see what team he started in the playoff final. I think that's probably as good a judge of any, basically, to see what kind of formation he plays. He played a 4-2-3-1. Must say I'm not an expert on it. I've heard of Ethan Galbraith, to be fair. He could, I'll tell you what, if you could get him, he's a good player. Him. I guess those two are 4-2-3-1 managers, aren't they? I did a tweet about this, actually. I don't know if I've got it on my Twitter. Bear with. If I can go back to my Twitter. My dodgy thumbnails. I was quite proud of that one yesterday. Where was it? Yeah, I've always personally felt that our squad right now, as it is kind of built to play a 4-2-3-1. Now, I'm not saying that we've got players in all positions necessarily that could play 4-2-3-1. But I just think with, the players that we have and the positions that are their best positions, to squeeze them all in and make them, I think 4-2-3-1's our best, is the kind of formation our squad has been built to play in. And if I'm not mistaken, Liam started with a 4-2-3-1 at City, didn't he? And then kind of went away from that. And I think Bristol City FM is onto something here. And I think it's down to our centre-backs. And I don't think he trusted any of our centre-backs to do a two-man partnership. I think that might have held us back. But yeah, I personally feel we're built to play a 4-2-3-1, really. And it looks like STRUBER and Wellens are two managers that play a 4-2-3-1. Whereas Rob Edwards, he doesn't play that. He plays a 3 at the back, which I think our squad could also play. I mean, it's proven, right? They played that under Liam Manning to get the playoffs, basically. The only thing for me that I think holds us back from a proper 3 at the back, you know, championship promotion team is our wing backs. I just think when you play a back 3, your wing backs become so important. They have to be good at defending, and they have to really add like depth to the attack. And I just don't think, bar McCrory, and he's not the best defender. I will say that. I've seen him done a number of times this season, one-on-one, like completely sat on his arse by a few championship attackers. And I just don't think Pring and Tanner, and I'm not sure it's necessarily that they're not good enough. It might have been an instruction thing, but I don't think they have enough confidence to go forwards. Like whenever Tanner gets the ball or Pring gets the ball, their first instinct usually is to pass it backwards. And I just think they have more ability than they show going forwards, to be honest. But I still don't think they're good enough to get us promoted at wing back. So I do think our squad's built to play a 4-2-3-1, and those two managers look like they could be good shouts. Brentford will go for McKenna. Yeah, that's fair. That does look like a good fit, doesn't it, Chris? I think if we appointed, yeah, we just said that. Andrew really hopes it's Rob Edwards. Let me know in the chat who your shout for Bristol City manager is. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, if you haven't already, please leave a like rating on the stream. By the way, we got looks like 28 people watching and only 2 likes at the moment. So I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like rating on the stream. Really helps me out with the channel. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Robin's Nest YouTube channel. We'll see where this thing goes. I just want to say I'm very grateful for all the support I've had on the channel. It's been something I've wanted to start for a while, but I've always been a little bit nervous about starting a fan channel because I know how some have become quite toxic AFTV. So I didn't want to become one of those. And, you know, obviously their BCFC Ben is disagreeing with me on something like, it's totally cool. I could totally accept people disagreeing with me. And yeah, the last thing I want to do is create a toxic atmosphere on this channel. Yeah, that's fair enough. BCFD Ben. I think Pring has the ability. I just don't think he shows it enough. What formation do you think Norwich will play under Manning, and what is Twine like? We strongly link. Scott Twine, mate, if you look at his free kick record, he's probably one of the best free kick takers in world football. That's Scott Twine's strength. Everything else, I've not been all that impressed by, to be honest. I think Scott Twine's strongest trait is his shooting and like dead ball striking. And then he doesn't really offer a great deal other than that. But he has been with Liam Manning at he's been with Liam Manning at MK Dons, and he absolutely loved him there. And then he brought him to Bristol City. It was a player that we were probably chasing the most last summer to sign. And it was when Liam Manning took over midway through the season, we brought him in on loan. And then we formally signed him last summer. So he's one of Liam Manning's sort of favourites. But he wasn't even playing him at the back end of last season. He was injured for a fair bit of it. And then he came back. And then he didn't get in the starting 11. Like, he didn't start the final playoff games. And I think that's kind of telling, really. So honestly, I would be surprised if Manning took Twine with him to Norwich. I just don't think Scott Twine is a player that's good enough right now. He didn't show enough last season for me to consider him a starting 11 player in a team that's going to get promoted. That's what I think. Yeah, I completely agree, Alan. I mean, Tanner has just signed a new contract, hasn't he? So I think, yeah, we'll see. It's good to have 2, though. And I think, to be honest, you can't have a fullback that starts every single game in a season. So there's going to be room for both of them to play. Mad, isn't it? Sacked with 2 games to go and they won the league. Yeah, I get that, BCFC Ben. I think one of the things we're missing in our defence as well, and it might have been why Manning played Pring there, is his physicality. I don't think we have many athletic centre-backs. Like a centre-back that can either manhandle a championship defender or has the pace to like beat them one-on-one. I don't think we have a centre-back that can do that. Like Zach Viner he's good on the ball, but he doesn't really offer much from like a physical perspective. And that leads to him really sitting off attackers. I remember when Sunderland scored, it's at my ender, wasn't it? He ran the whole length of the pitch, and Viner was so scared to make a challenge. And Rob Dickey's probably our best defender, but even he's definitely not the quickest. And I've seen him get beaten a number of times, like in a physical scrap as well. I think maybe that's why he played Pring there, because he wanted a bit of cover pace if someone was running in behind, basically. And I think Pring, I think he's actually been linked to Wolves. I think one of his best traits is his athleticism. I genuinely think he has Premier League level athleticism. And I remember it was a couple of seasons ago now, wasn't it? But when we played West Ham and he was one-on-one against Soufal, who for a time was, a leading Premier League fullback, Pring absolutely manhandled him. I remember that quite well. We have Nunes for free kicks. Yeah, mate. I think Scott Twine, if I'm not mistaken, has a better free kick conversion rate than Messi. But genuinely, I think if you look at the numbers, he may be the best free kick taker in world football, or up there as the best free kick taker in world football. That might sound mad saying that, but I genuinely think there's some truth to that. In terms of statistically, anyway. Would I back Messi or Scott Twine to take a free kick for my team? I'm probably saying Messi, but yeah. A new goalkeeper would be nice. I think that's another thing for us as well. Whatever happens, we need to sign a goalkeeper and a striker this summer, don't we? I just don't know how we go anywhere without a new goalkeeper or a striker. Yeah, I completely agree with you, BCFC, Ben. Is there any other players you think Manning may bring across? Yeah, maybe Nahki Wells. I would say Nahki Wells, I don't really know much about the Norwich squad. Do you think you have what's sort of the age demographic of your team? I think if the Norwich squad is quite young, he would consider bringing Nahki Wells over for, the experience factor. But whether he'd actually come, though, I don't know. He seems pretty settled in wherever he lives, does Nahki Wells. But yeah, he's the only one I could realistically see them bringing. Jason Knight is our best player at Bristol City, by the way, Ben. And there was a lot of chat from, I think most of them are on the wind-up, to be fair, about Manning bringing him over. I think Jason Knight's only going to go to the Prem, really. Interesting. So you're a very young squad who needs a backup third striker. Well, that sounds to me like Nahki Wells could quite well be going to Norwich then. I'll tell you who I'd want to get as our goalkeeper, mate. Finally signed someone from Bournemouth. I think his name's Mark Travers. I think he was the Middlesbrough goalkeeper last season. He was only on loan from Bournemouth. He looked really good for Bournemouth, both with his feet and from a shot-stopping perspective. A lot more competent than O'Leary did. So, yeah, I think Travers from Bournemouth would be a good signing for us. Yes, Ben. Yeah, it looks like we got two Bens here. It looks like both Sargent and Sainz is just doing a tour of Spain at the moment, I've seen. Because I've liked a few Norwich tweets over the last few weeks, I'm getting recommended loads of Norwich stuff. And it looks like Borja Sainz is doing a total tour of Spain at the moment to try and get himself a move. So that suggests that both him and Sargent are going. What do you reckon, just as out of interest, Ben, what do you reckon you'd get? So they're both going to leave, aren't they? What do you reckon you'll get from for both Sargent and Sainz? Harry Darling, yeah, that's another name. He was linked a few times at City as well. I would imagine you'd probably get him, to be fair. You can sort of guess how the interview went for Liam Manning at Norwich, right? Nothing's been agreed yet. I'm not sure if he has been offered a new contract, I don't actually know. Does anyone in the chat know if we've agreed anything with Nahki Wells? I'd be surprised if we did before we get a new manager, because I think the decision whether to keep Nahki Wells or not would entirely depend on who our new manager could be. What do I want to look at? We all know what Rob Edwards' story is, don't we? But let's go on this screen. It's interesting that some of the Google searches of Rob Edwards, it's not my not the ones I've searched for, but they're asking about Rob Edwards' wife and his daughter, which is interesting. Okay. So yeah, we all know. I'm going to leave that on there. We'll leave the Rob Edwards profile when we look at the chat. 15 to 20 million for signs, 20 to 25 as Sargent. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, you're looking at 30 million to spend as Norwich, basically, from that, you'd imagine. Yeah, that's totally fair enough, to be honest, from Ben, isn't it? That's totally fair enough. You can't really argue with that. The thing for me is, I really like Nahki Wells. He definitely grew on me this season. Leading up to this season, I definitely wasn't his biggest fan. And I don't know if it was this season or the first season under Manning. He would come on after 60 minutes, and all he would do is just foul the opposition defenders. You know, when they're kind of like jockeying the ball out for a goal kick or a throw-in? Nahki Wells' one contribution in an entire game was just to foul a defender that was doing that. I found it really frustrating. I was just like, well, this guy's a waste of space. And then I remember, he got a free kick, didn't he? And he just absolutely blasted it over the bar. I think it was towards the back end of last season. I remember it quite well at Ashton Gate, and I just thought, this guy needs to go. And then this season, he's really turned it around. You've also got Jonathan Rowe money, so there's another 10 million. Oh, wow. So Norwich are going to be you're going to be rolling in it then. So you're potentially going to have 40 million to spend on transfers this summer then. That's pretty mad, isn't it? So yeah, if you're in the chat, let us know who your shout would be. So it certainly looks like, as I said, our shortlist right now, before I wrap up the stream, is Gerhard Struber, Rob Edwards, Richie Wellens. It looks like that's the three. Apparently, Michael Carrick. A few people have said he's been offered the job / interviewed. We'll see. Yeah, Struber, Edwards, Wellens are the three. Yeah, let us know in the chat who you think we'd get out of those. Let's go back to Rob Edwards, because he'd be my pick. I think Rob Edwards would be my pick. Needs 7 to 8 players, though. What is Manning like with recruitment? The thing is, it's quite hard for me to answer the question, what is Manning like with recruitment? Because I don't know how involved he was with the recruitment decisions at Bristol City. We've got a director of football named Brian Tinian, who I think does a lot of the decision-making on the players we buy. Obviously, a manager has a say, but I'd be interested to know how much Manning influenced the transfer decisions. The one signing that definitely was his was Scott Twine, no doubt about it. We signed a centre-back called Luke McNally, who looks pretty good, to be fair. I'm pretty happy with that signing. Who else did we sign last summer? We got a striker from QPR named Sinclair Armstrong, who, not great. Another striker from, I can't remember who he's playing, Austrian League, something like that, named Fali Mayulu. He came in, scored 2 goals in his first 2 games. Looked really, really good. And then he just dropped off a cliff, and we sent him out on loan, and he's been injured all season. So he's not been great. Who else did Manning sign? He didn't sign Bird, did he? He may have signed Bird, but I think that was a decision. I think that was a decision made before him. Who else did we get? That's basically it, wasn't it? Oh yeah, Marcus McGuane. That is true. That is, yeah. How did I forget about McGuane? Yeah, he signed Marcus McGuane from Oxford, who is fabulous, actually. I really like McGuane. I think he's a fantastic footballer. So that's probably, to be honest, I think of all of our signings so far, McGuane is probably the best one he's made, to be honest. We signed you under Manning as well, did we? Yeah. Jury's still out for me on you. He's played for Japan, hasn't he, and was man of the match, but jury's still out for me in his time at Bristol City. Honestly, Ben, out of the two, I'd take Struber or Edwards. I think Edwards probably still my preference, but I take either of them, really. I think they both come with their upsides, basically. Rob Edwards is proven to have achieved what we as a football club and fans want to do. And Struber, well, he looks like a good manager, could work with our current squad. and might open the door to some European signings and stuff. I agree, Ben. I just don't think the system that Manning was playing at City, that sort of 3 at the back, 2 inside forwards, didn't really work for you, did it? He didn't really have a position where he fit in. Unless you've got any more chat or any more questions, I might end things there if that's all right. Oh, with George Earthy as well. Of course, he got George Earthy on loan, didn't he, from West Ham? Well, Earthy was all right, wasn't he? For half of the season, he was all right. Good young player from West Ham. Yeah, I quite like George Earthy. Murphy and Stokes. Yeah, I haven't seen much from them though. I'll just check Twitter one last time to see if there was anything new in the time that we've been live. There's nothing new, is there, on a Sunday? There's not going to be any news. Yeah, that's a fair point, Ben. There's quite a lot written on the One Team in Bristol forum about Rob Edwards, and it's a place of, I would call it, lively debate at times. Some of the opinions and thoughts on there are questionable, but one guy was suggesting how many players Rob Edwards actually had available to him this season that he signed and that he had in the Prem, and he got unlucky, I think you could argue. And also, the thing for me about that time this season is, I'll go back to it. It sounds a bit philosophical, but when you think as like a human being, when do you learn and develop the most, right? It's when things are hard and they don't go your way and you have failures. And I think Rob Edwards had that last season, and he would have learned quite a lot from that time. Yeah, that's the only worry, isn't it, Istanbul Robin? He was not happy with not getting backed in the transfer market, and that's probably going to be the case at Bristol City. I mean, whoever comes in, you're probably going to get 2 signings this summer, would be my guess. 2 or 3 signings, depending on who we can get rid of as well, if we get rid of anyone. And that's really your lot. And it's for me, it's got to be a goalkeeper and a forward, hasn't it? Or maybe they'll be told to try and get a tune out of Sinclair Armstrong and Mayuli, to be fair. Yeah, we had, I completely agree with you, Ben, about the loan market. Previous to Liam Manning, we had Nigel Pearson, who was a pretty, I don't know how to describe him. I wouldn't say old-fashioned as such, but he was a bit hard-nosed, and he just refused to get Premier League players in on loan. Yeah, the thing is with the Luton players as well, and it's one thing that Bristol City have, is we don't pay our players as much as other teams. So I think our wage bill at Bristol City is like 16th or 17th in the Championship. And obviously we've got these Luton players sitting in League One who are on almost Premier League wage. They're in trouble, aren't they, Luton? They're going to really need to get rid of some players. So the likes of Alfie Doughty, Carlton Morris, they'll be on upwards of sort of 30k a week, you'd imagine. So the question is, I imagine there'll be a lot of Championship clubs sniffing around the 2 of them. Are we really going to compete? I don't know. I quite like Morris. I'd quite like Alfie Doughty. There are probably other Luton players I've forgotten about that I'd like as well. Adebayo would be really good as well. I'm just not sure if we'd be able to afford their wages. Yeah, fair enough, Ben. That's the thing for me. I think I'd feel positive about my football club if we hired either Rob Edwards or Struber. I would not about Wellens. That's my thoughts. I think we need to shift out Fally and Sinks, maybe Mehmeti, bring in a new forward line and a decent keeper. Yeah, I agree. It's just whether we can get a new tune out of Fally Mayulu, to be honest. That's the only thing. Whether a new manager could get him playing better again. I think we're going to need 70... Yeah, I agree. I agree, Istanbul Robin. Like right now, I think the squad as it is a mid-table Championship team again, to be fair. Compared to the other squads, the budgets they have available in the Championship. If I were to be a betting man, I think we finish 9th or 10th. That'd be my guess. with a small sniff of the playoffs would be my view. And if we sold Jason Knight, that's almost definitely mid-table, isn't it? And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he sold Jason Knight either. And I don't mean to like put down the achievement that Bristol City did last season to get playoffs, but it's something that I was cognizant of the whole time. I think the only reason, the main reason that Bristol City got top 6 this season was because the standard of the rest of the league wasn't very good. It was the worst championship season outside of like the top 4 teams for a very long time. And let's not forget, on the final day against Preston, we were all checking our phones, and the only reason we got playoffs is because Blackburn drew. So, you know, there is that. Wrexham be strong, Birmingham be top 6. 3 teams coming down, good, absolutely. It's tougher, yep, absolutely. Interesting on Birmingham, I'm not sure. Right, I need to go to the gym, if that's all right. Because I'm swimming at Nationals next weekend, and I need to make my body more flexible and keep my strength up. So I need to go to the gym. Yeah, if you enjoyed that, please leave a like rating on the stream. I feel like the title was the 3 managerial options, and we spoke a little bit about other things. So yeah, I feel like I went a little bit off topic on this one, but hopefully you enjoyed it all the same. We've got 43 people in here at the moment, which is pretty mega. If you haven't already, well, we got 43 people and 17 likes, 105 views in total apparently. So if you can get a few more like ratings before the stream ends, I'd really appreciate that. And subscribe to the Robin's Nest YouTube channel. I do have a plan for some more content coming out. I want to make a video about players I want us to sign. I'm going to do that next week, I think, to be honest. I was holding off a little bit until we get our new manager, but I think the positions that we mainly need, being a goalkeeper and a forward, it doesn't really matter all that much about the new manager, I don't think, in terms of who we sign. So I'm probably gonna go in on that video. I think we probably need a goalkeeper and a striker, don't we? So I might make a video on that. And then I'll cover all the news that we've got on Bristol City managers as well. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, leave a like rating. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and if you agree or disagree with any of my views. I'll catch you on the next stream.